Let's see. Hold on. Hold on. Hello, everybody. Let us. All right. We're all set. So I am on like 3 microphones, one on the computer, one on my laptop, and going live on Instagram. So, hello. Welcome to episode 17 of Pure Sessions with your girl Lana and Pure. So I decided to do a small little recap in case you guys are just joining. So for those of you who don't know, I do a podcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is live, as you can see. So I wanted to do something a little different this year. Last year, when I first started doing the podcast, it was mostly just streaming, like for live audio, like audiobooks. I'm kind of new to the podcast game. I guess you call it podders. I don't know. So I figured, well, what better way to get, my message across than outside of just doing, live streaming. I'm sorry, outside of doing audiobooks, do it live streaming. So they, people, your not clients, but your peers, I guess you want to call it, can interact with you, see your facial expressions. It's more personal. I feel like if you're just reading or somebody just listening to you, it's just not monotone, but it's not like as one-on-one, if that makes sense. So last year, I can say that now because it's like we're slightly, was it week 2 of January? Might be week 1. I don't know. I can't keep track. I did an audiobook of my book actually, which is out now. I'm not here to promote, but just a little snippet. It's out now on Amazon and Apple Music, Google Books. I have the Kindle and the paperback, and it's called Tajiri. I have it somewhere. I'll show it to you. So you're saying the whole title. So a book is out. Tajiri, A Conversation on the Truth. I don't mean the truth they taught you in your history class. And, I wrote this book. Well, I've been wanting to write this book for some time, but I kind of became full force in a way when George Floyd was murdered on May 25th, 2020. And I kind of just like blew it all in. So that's out and you can listen to that. So I figured, what better way than to if you're like me, you're moving, you're always on the go, you're always doing something, and people like to listen while they do stuff like I do, like music, podcasts, whatever. So I'm like, what better way than to move and groove than listening to, a book? And I promise you, it's not like just facts and things, just dives into different topics. So it talks about politics, police brutality, racism, the presidency, growing up, as African American, touches different aspects. And so that's with that. But I kind of also took a hiatus, I guess, away or a sabbatical from social media for the past like 3 weeks. And honestly, it's actually been great. I kind of don't miss it. I've been able to, um, focus and regroup and do other things and just trolling and going through streams and reposting and retweeting. I just got tired of it. You get to the point where you're like not on social media, whatever platform it is, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you're just literally just going through pictures. You're not really doing anything. It kind of got to that point. And I didn't get this, it sounds weird, but I didn't get like, I guess the same excitement in a way that I used to before on Instagram. You have something to say, you post it, or your friend's doing something, you repost it or you like it. Just got like it's the same thing over and over again. So I guess I was not like caring. I don't know. So I took a little hiatus. So this is actually, I guess, my first time back on social media live, essentially, in 2021. So, so I talked for like 4 minutes about my life. So basically, with this whole thing, Pure Sessions with Lana and Pure, I wanted to do something a little different because, like I said last year, for the first part of my podcast, I kind of just focused on my book. So what I would do, I would read, a chapter a week, and, discuss the reason why I wrote it, my thoughts behind it, the thought process, blah, blah, blah. So with this, I guess part two of it, I wanted to do something a little bit more personal. So for this week's episode, something we can all relate to is relationships, whether it be, friendship relationships, coworkers, husband, wife, boyfriend, cousins, spouses, partners, whatever type of relationships. I want to talk about that. I mean, I'm not like a wise guru, but I do have a couple of 2 cents that, I like to add if I may. And so last year I did all the podcasts. It was just audio. There was no visual. So it's my first time doing the lives and the podcast. So bear with me. I'm not as tech savvy as I thought it would be. So what I have going on here, if you can't really tell, but I have the Instagram live. I'm on YouTube live, and then I have my other computer over here recording it. So if I'm looking down, it's not because I'm trying to be rude, but I'm just looking at like 3 or 4. Hi, thank you so much. 3 or 4 different cameras. Because like I've mentioned before, I don't have like a studio. I'm not high tech and all that. So I do literally everything on my phone or my computer in my room, as you can see. So just bear with me with my little shenanigans. But yeah, so I feel like I gave like a little bit synopsis of the background between on the Pure Sessions live. So my podcast it airs live every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's on YouTube, Instagram, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, all that, podcasts, wherever you get your streaming. And it's once a week, every Sunday at 6. And you can find me, because outside of being a podcaster or a potter, or whatever you call it, and outside writing the book, I also am a DJ. Woo. So I do music and engineering and beat making and music production. So I do that. So last week I mentioned I had like a little nugget that I wanted to share with you, which I did. What do you call it? I didn't give like too much information last week because it's still in the works. And so last week I mentioned I had a project, one of my projects I'm working on for music, coming up in the next couple of months. So that's still a thing. So this week I'll give one more nugget. Last week I said it comes out or it airs around ladies' favorite holiday. So that was like the little nugget I gave last week. So for this week, I'll just say it's no, you know what? You'll see when it comes out. I don't want to give too much because it's almost here. So that's with that. So yeah, so you can check me out. This is my like music business page, Lana and Pure's Corner. But my main page is just Lana and Pure. You can find all the info in my bio. Same picture, same name, just with corner at the end, so you won't get confused. I want to make it simple. So on here, on this page that I'm doing a live on, it's mostly just music, podcasts, and updates. And on main page, it's just kind of just music. But all the podcast would be live on this page, so you can find it. It's all the info is in the bio. And also one last nugget before I just keep talking. My website. I have also a website too. Yay! I tried to dabble into making my own website. I'm like, everybody else can do it. Let me just try it. So it's not as high tech as most of the websites, but my website is also in my bio on this page and my main page, and it's lepentertainment.com, which is just Lana and Pure Entertainment. And that lists, the music I do, the new music that's out, the podcast, and also I also took another hiatus from doing lives every Friday, with my controller. It's right here. Every Friday I would do lives at 8 p.m., but I kind of was not, I didn't lose interest. I think I lost my creative juice for a minute. And like after a while, it felt like I was like forcing it, when you're like doing something for so long and you kind of like run out of the juice. So I kind of, I kind of ran out of the juice for a second. I felt like each week when it would be that time to do the live, I felt like I was like forcing myself and rushing. So I'm like, maybe let me just take a minute and I'll come back to doing them. So I know every week I say tune in for the live, but just bear with me. I'll be back soon. Plus, I have some new things in the works. So bear with me with that. So I think I gave enough promoting for right now. So let's dive into the topic. So this new season, I guess you want to call it, this new year, I wanted to do something different with the podcast instead of just reading, from my what do you call it? The book. Sorry, I just lost train of thought. Reading from my book each week and talking about the chapter. I figured this new journey, in a way, which also ties into my name change. We didn't know before, when I was doing my music in the beginning of this year, I was under DJ Fire, and I changed my name to Lana and Pure because I felt like, not that I couldn't get behind Get Fire, but it was more so I felt like Lana and Pure. It just kind of like sounds weird, but kind of just like came to me in like a spiritual moment because I'm very heavily into reading my Bible, doing Bible study, and things like that. And I felt like with that name or that phrase, kind of was just like an awakening because I try to do a lot of regrouping and reflecting after, each day if I can, with everything that's going on with COVID and what's in the White House and this day-to-day things. You just sometimes just need that time to just regroup, reflect, and relax. It's kind of like my 3 R's that I'm trying to stick to for 2020. So I was finding myself doing that more often, which is a good thing. And that kind of just came to me. So that ties into the name change. That ties into the music I'm doing now. It's a little bit different than what I was doing before. Before it was more so just, like trance, house, progressive dance, which is cool. I love that kind of stuff. But sometimes you want to just mellow out, chill out, or, just vibe type of like coffee talk music. Um, so I'll give you a little nugget. I know I said I wasn't going to, but I'll give you a little nugget with the new project that's coming out soon. You'll see soon. This music, this big project, a little bit more songs than my usual. This vibe, I guess, this wave is kind of more on like the trippy chill hop neo soul vibe. So it's kind of like that. So I was excited to try that. I haven't really tried making music like that. I kind of stick to, house and dancing and trance and a lot of deep house dub. But like I said, this whole new year, these past couple of weeks, or even months, just new things have been, circling. So I'm like, let me try something different and let me try this sort of vibe because I like that type of chill hop neo soul vibe. So that's with that. So with that being said, I also want to mention this book, well, not book, but this daily word. I read this every day. It's 365 days to a healthy soul, the healthy dose, the daily dose, excuse me. And this is basically not a Bible verse a day, but kind of different topics per day. So one page can be resurrection power, and it gives you a Bible verse, and then it discusses that. So you read it for the whole year. I'm on day 79. I kind of got this before the new year started, so I'm kind of like cheated a little bit, but it's very good. It's very empowering. I read it every morning before, start the day. And it kind of gives me like that reflecting vibe, reflecting aura to think and reflect, from the night before. So if you don't have one daily dose, like, those 365 daily reads, that your grandmother has in her bathroom at church or, at home, it's very good. I would recommend that. So I've talked for about 30 minutes about myself. So what I'm going to do now is dive into the topic of relationships. I had music I was going to play, but I'm not even going to mess it up. When you have something you think you have, right, everything played and everything paused, and you move something, then everything shuts down. Next week, I promise I'll have some background music. Like I said, you got to bear with me because this is my first time doing, like, I've done lives, obviously talking on lives or doing music on lives, but doing this whole streaming podcasting, recording thing, it's new. Like I have the equipment, I guess, essentially. I have the microphone and the headphones, my little computer, my camera, but I'm just learning day by day. And I follow other podcasters who have more episodes and do more things and to see how they move and groove. And I figured let me try it instead of just like half-assing it, but kind of just giving like minimum effort because it's your brand, it's your baby, essentially that you're doing, and you wanted to, reflect yourself, right? If that makes sense. So for this week, I kind of was struggling with which topic I wanted to start off with as the first episode, essentially, in Pure Sessions. And before, with Pure Sessions, before my podcast, which is called Lana Pure's Podcast. But then I kind of like Pure Sessions kind of sounds more of like a chilling with coffee and tea by the fire vibe, if that makes sense. So with this week specifically, I was struggling with which topic to start with. So it's either going to be on Bible study and like getting closer to God, at least with my journey, or relationships. And I feel like that's like a universal topic that seems to never get it never seems to end. So I just want to give my 2 cents. It's not like I have like a lot to say, obviously, but it's just my little 2 cents. And by obviously I mean it's gonna sound crazy, but at least for me, I think with at least how I am and how I interact with people, my tolerance lately, I don't know if it's just me, but it has been really low. More so like my patience, I guess. I feel like I get annoyed a little easier. I get frustrated a little bit easier. Like it's not that I want things done a certain way. In a sense, we all do. But it's more so like, oh, I don't have time to deal with the shenanigans. No, nobody does. But you just get to the point in your life, whether it's like I said, coworker relationships, boss relationships, parents relationships, couple relationships, you just start realizing that you're not going to deal with certain things that you used to be okay with before. Like for example, for me, when I was younger, I guess I can say that now because I'm 27. So when I was younger, essentially, um what I would deal with in relationships would be the not hearing from the person. Like you could be texting for like you're dating, right? And you could be texting for like 3, 4, 5 hours straight, right? And then the person just goes like ghost, right? And then they just appear like the next day as if nothing happened. And it's like, but wait a minute, but weren't we having a conversation yesterday about like anything? Let me be serious, but just anything. And then they come back as if like nothing happened. I'm like, before I would be like, oh, okay, maybe you're busy, we're not married, you're not tied down, you don't have to be like responding every 3 seconds, you don't want to be smothered. And before I'd be like, oh, it's fine, he'll get back to me when I want to. But then I was noticing, at least with me, because I can only speak on my experience, I can't speak on other people's experience, but at least with me, I was noticing that it was like a pattern with the people that I was talking to. Not just this one well, I'll use this one person example. But with this one person, it was a pattern. Like it would happen more frequently. Like we would be talking about anything, nothing serious, but like just anything. And then they would just disappear. And then they would come back and then just be like, hey, or they would come back and be like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, but I already forgot what we're talking about. And then with this particular person, it would happen frequently. So then I'm like, let me just say something because it's a little annoying now. Before I'd be like, all right, you're busy, whatever. But and then I would say something and I would be like, I don't like when you do, this. I would like to hear from you more often. And then the reaction would be like, well, I'm busy. I'll get back to you when I can. And again, I was younger, so I kind of really didn't. I was like, okay, well, whatever. But I'm like, now, fast forward to like now, I'm like, well, no. I mean, like, because you see, okay, because see, I call them, at least for me, I call them courtesy texts, check-ins, right? You could be busy, um, right? But if you're like talking at like 9 a.m. and then you don't respond back to like 10 p.m. and it's just like a one-word message, it's like I don't really want to talk to you because the whole day has gone by and I'm already on to like the next thing. If that makes sense. It's like I'm not going to be like now what I'm realizing that I'm not going to deal with. It's like I don't want to have to wait around because time is precious. I mean, especially now, time is very precious. So it's like, why do I have to sacrifice my time for you to just get back to me with a one-word message? That makes sense. I know that sounds cynical, not cynical, but I know that sounds like annoying. And it's like, oh, you're not married. It's not like you haven't been together for like 10 years. I'm like, but you could be together for like 6 months. But if a person, whether it's on both sides, right, or doing something that the person doesn't like, then you should be able to bring it up in a conversation and then have a discussion about it, right? And then come to resolution. Because I've always noticed that it there's different types of conversations. There's conversations, right? There's discussions, there's disagreements, and then there's arguments. And I've tried to stay in the conversation discussion part before it gets to the second level of what do you call it? Disagreeing and arguments. Because then when it gets to that point, you're just yelling, you're screaming, you're not what do you call it? Listening to what the person is saying because you're just talking over them. And at least for me, I've learned to struggle with listening to a person before I respond because as females, we already have like 10 receipts that we want to say before the person that we're talking to is finished because we were like, well, you said this at this time and I have the results of this, or you said this during this time and I have the receipts for everything you said. And at the same time, we're not even listening to what the person is saying because you're so focused on your response and your 10 receipts that you're not even listening to them. So then it gets to the point of disagreements and then arguing because the whole time this person is talking to you, all you're focused on responding is, your receipts. And then that makes the other person feel like, well, did they really hear me? Or were they just waiting their turn to, pull out the receipts and then check off the list? And that's something that we discussed maybe a month ago on my Bible study group, which is a good group. You ladies should join. Sorry, fellas, it's only for ladies, but it's I have it here it's on my phone. I'll put it in this post, so you guys can follow them. It's a great girl group. We meet on Zoom, obviously now because we can't meet in person. We meet on Zoom. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And I'll write it in the bio of the girl group. You guys could check it out for the ladies. It's efficient and it's fun. And we talk about different things from relationships to family matters to being closer to God, to your walk with God, to your journey with God. So it's not just like a strict, Bible study group. And I've actually been with them since July last year. And they started back in May because one of my friends, she introduced me. Shout out to Amber. She introduced me to them for like weeks, and I was just like never go on. But then I, like, let me just try this one time, and I'm happy I did because it's like a great community to have your voice heard, have your voice listened, at the same time grow with God because we're all essentially around the same age. We're all dealing with the same things: relationships, parents, friends, families, coworkers, jobs, not working, money, bills. So it's a great community to, really be yourself. And I've seen, at least with me, I've learned to speak up more, because I've always had issues with voicing my opinion because I always didn't want the other person, to feel offended, which ties into relationships. I'll get to that in a minute. But or speaking up. I always had problems with, even in school, public speaking. I was just very shy person. Still am. Very shy person with public speaking in front of a crowd and stuff like that. Like I could do it sitting down and just looking at the teacher. But if it was like, standing, in front doing like an Earth Day project, I would like, okay. And then I would also have issues with eye contact, which I still do now this day. I don't know why. I have an issue. Like I'm having a conversation with somebody, even now, even through the camera, I have to look away and then come back. I just don't know. It's just I've never been good with eye contact, and even when I was younger, I would always have my head down and speak, in a low, soft voice. So it's taking me some time to like open up in a way. I don't know. I think I was just a very shy person, right? Growing up in school, I was to myself. I didn't have a lot of friends. Was quiet. So I think that's probably where it came from. Being shy, not speaking up, kind of staying, in the back, shadows and stuff like that. Because growing up, especially in elementary to like middle schoolish, maybe 7th, 8th grade, I was a little bit overweight, so I would get picked on a lot. And plus, since I didn't really speak up a lot, I was just stayed to myself. So it kind of like ties into everything. I mean, now I kind of say whatever's on my mind, which gets me in trouble, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, definitely check out this group. I'm gonna put the name of the Instagram page in the bio, so you could check it out. But what was I saying? All right, to the point where I said that I wasn't able to, I guess, speak up as much or speak up as frequently that I wanted. That would also be an issue in the relationship, because I would always feel like that I would be offending the person if I didn't, because if I said something that kind of was like too forceful, or if I said something that kind of was like that came off not angry, but that came off that, I guess, angry, because my thing would be I would hold it in for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I guess when it came out, it sounded like I was like yelling and screaming, because I guess I had like a lot to say, but that never really was the case. I just never knew. I guess my issue was I never knew. I didn't say it during the time. If that makes sense. Like, when you're feeling some way, some type of way at that specific moment, they always say, voice it now, because later it'll just eat you up and then it will come out like you're yelling and screaming. I think that was my issue. So when it would come out and we would have, the discussions, it would always sound like I was like screaming. And sometimes I was. But the other times, just I think I just had like a lot to say. So growing up, I would learn to, I guess, keep to myself and then say if it was necessary, whether it was like relationships or parents or friends. I would always be like, let me just stay back and just, not say anything. And then let's just see how this plays out. Like I was like one of those, like a people watcher. And I still am to this day. People watch, see how people move and groove. Like if you say a certain thing, see if their body language or their moods change. And mostly 9 times out of 10, it would, at least in my mind. I thought that it did. But with relationships and what I was saying earlier, the ties back with the tolerance and what I will deal with and what I won't deal with now. And even so now, people still take forever to respond. Like that's my thing. Like people have like a deal breaker or a pet peeve or whatever you call it. My thing is if you take like 6 to 7 hours to respond and you just write back with like, hey, or okay, and then just talk to me when you have the time. Like that's my thing. I would rather you reach out or text when you have the time. There's a groove, consistent groove, not just like I guess like sporadic texts. Like that's why I call them check-in texts, because if you just say like we're talking like at 10 a.m. and then we stop talking like at 3, and then you just write like, oh hey, I'm gonna be doing blah 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 for like a couple hours. I'll talk to you later. Cool, that makes sense. But if we're having like a heavily discussion on like our childhood dreams in like an in-depth open conversation, and then you just like disappear for like hours, and you might back the next day, I'm just like, yeah, it's like the consistency of being considerate of the person, if that makes sense, like their feelings. Because if you're dating somebody or dealing with relationships at work or friends or cousins or whatever, it's a relationship, it's two people. So you're dealing with another person's personality. Oh my God. Unless you're like a twin or something, or like a good friend. But even still, then there's still some ups and downs. So my thing is, if you just check in for like a couple seconds, then you're taking the time to show the person that they mean a little bit to you more than just saying, well, I'll get back to them when they can. And I've always been a person of, before when I was younger, not now so much, but before when I was younger, well, let me do this back to you to see how it feels. Because 9 out of 10, there are people who operate, if they're getting done the same thing back to them, then they slightly change up or they like take a step back. But mostly they're just oblivious to it, because they are they're set in their own ways. And it's taking me some time, even with the Bible study group, the girls' Bible study group, I've learned it's taking me some time, that you have to understand people's, I guess, not walks, but people's journeys, because you don't know like what it took for them to get there, if that makes sense. Like you don't know what it took for them to get there. And oftentimes we're like, well, why are you not doing this, or why are you not doing that? And we're so busy to um like fixate ourselves on other people relationships that we're just like, well, let me just try to focus and do that on mine. So I've learned that, and it seems to be working, but not so much. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I have one thing that's recording that says I can only record for 30 minutes. I'm gonna stop this now and do part 2 in a second. So hold on. Hold on with me. Yeah, this one app that I'm doing on Anchor, it only allows you to record for 30 minutes. So I wanted to stop that. But let me do this. Oh, my charger. I need my charger. Hold on. Ma, is that you? Can you get my charger from downstairs? By the in the plug. Where I sit. Can you bring that? Yes. So my computer's about to die. So we're gonna take a brief intermission while my mom gets my charger. Cause yeah, we don't want that dying in the middle of the recording because that's kind of rude. So bear with me while I get this plugged in. Let me play some music for y'all. This is so quiet. Oh my God. Hold on. You gotta come in, ma. Thank you. You want me to set that up? Yeah. Can you just hit the switch? I gotta plug it in. Thank you. Just switch right there. Thank you. All right, we're back. I had to get that charged. So you play some music because, yeah. Let's play some music. Okay. So, right. So, as I was saying, hopefully this is not too loud, this music. Let me turn it down because that's probably really loud. Some background music. Yeah. So I don't know if you're like me. I like to have some sort of sound or music in the background that I can't stand the quiet. It's just me. I guess I'm just a music head. But yeah, so with the relationship thing, for me, that's just my little pet peeve. I don't want to I could talk about that for hours, but that's just my little pet peeve. If we're talking and we're having like a steady conversation, okay, and we're having like a steady conversation for like a good 10 minutes, I'm like, but where'd you go? So for relationships, so okay, so here's the thing. The reason why I'm not in one now is because it takes a lot of mental energy, it takes a lot of mental time, and it takes a lot of patience to deal with another person, right? People say, oh, they want to be in a relationship, but they don't want to actually put like the actual work that goes into being in a relationship. Because you can say you want one, and then when you have it, you're finding yourself sometimes. At least with me, I've noticed recently, you're not giving it like your all, and so sometimes you just don't want to. 'Cause it's a lot of work, or maybe sometimes you just don't have it in you to do it. Like there are times when people go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, back to back to back to back, without a time of healing in between. Without a time of thinking, reflecting, regrouping between, because that takes from if you go from one relationship to the next consistently, back to back to back, there's no time for you yourself to heal, to grow, and to love yourself all over again and refresh. It's like a restart. It's like if you never turn your phone or your computer off for like 6 months, it's just gonna just not die out, but it's just gonna be like, "Ugh." So you need that time, I guess, a transition period to take the time to regroup, because it takes your energy, your soul, your mind space to deal with and be with somebody and know the nuances and how they move and try to like give them what they need, because everybody needs to be nourished, you know? Everybody needs to be nourished, needs to be loved, needs to be catered to. And if there's no break in between that time span, it's just a lot. And I was, I guess, prone to doing that when I was also not younger, but like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe. I was one of those who would just go from one to the next and next and next, because I guess essentially it wasn't that I was like, well, sometimes I was bored. This was like, oh yeah, I'm bored, whatever. But at the same time, I guess I'm one of those people who haven't, I guess, gotten to the point yet where they're okay with being by themselves. And I've gotten to the point now. But back then, I guess I wasn't at that level or that maturity of being okay with just, moving and grooving by yourself. Because you know, I always say, oh, you don't need a man to satisfy you or build you up. You don't. But at the same time, if there's deeper issues with yourself and how you think and how you groove and move, then that sometimes also seeps into, the next relationship, which goes back into or ties back into that healing time. If you're still dealing with stuff, either it's from your end or their end from the previous relationship, and that hasn't been settled or solved or nourished yet, and then you just go into the next one, then that sometimes seeps into the next one. And then whether he or she or them or guys or girls, they get the butt end of not the heartache from what you felt, but the extra baggage, because you're bringing that over into the next relationship. And that sometimes, can cause issues, because it's like, well, what did I do? Or why is this, happening to me? What's the issue with that? There's no period of transition. I guess it's the best word to use. I can't think of another word. But I think that's the best word to use. There's no time for you to heal and to regroup. Um, and I guess now I got to the point where I'm like, okay, if I'm by myself for like 6, 7, 8, 9 months, that's cool, because it sounds like a cliche, but like there is a person for everybody. I do believe that saying, or have faith, or there is that special, I guess, soulmate for that person. But at the same time, it's just like now I'm just like I'm okay with that. It sounds bad. Nothing to knock the people who are together or married or relationships or engaged or what have you. But for me, I'm just like, I think I think now I'm just like, okay, I'm cool with just having like a companion. I know that sounds weird, but I'm like, okay, I just have somebody that you can talk to. You can talk about things, lives, grooves, moves, and not have that pressure sounds so bad, but not have that responsibility to what do you call it? Give your all the time, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Like for me now, like before, even like a year and a half ago, I was like, oh, you think you found that person, or that person you think that is different from the rest, and you think that they can give you, this, that, and the third, and vice versa. Because before, I would always be one of those females who'd be upset that the boyfriend wasn't like buying you things, taking you out to dinner, texting all the time, flowers, candies, the work and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, what am I doing? A lot of people always demand so much from the male in the relationship that they're not looking at themselves. Case in point, Valentine's Day. I used to love Valentine's Day. I mean, as a kid, you get the candy and the cards, and I like you, and all the other stuff. But as I got older, or as I got older, I was like, oh, I like flowers, the little teddy bear, the little dates, cute little stuff. But my thing was, and I kind of calmed down a little bit. But my thing was, I was always comparing the relationship that I'm currently in to friends' relationships or what you see, and I would guess I was always competing with that, because I'm like, well, we're the same age, the couples, we're the same age, and our friends are the same age, but how come they're doing all this other stuff and they seem happy all the time? Or how come, she's getting all this stuff, but I'm like not getting anything? So I was always comparing my relationship to other relationships and be like, well, what's happening here? Like, why is it not the same? Like, why am I not, I guess, feeling like fulfilled like I should be, because, everybody wants that affection, whether it's showing it, telling it, doing it, whatever. But so that was always my big thing. And I guess that would seep in and cause issues, because I was always saying, like, well, how come I don't get this or I don't get that? And then it took me a while to realize, but I'm doing all this stuff. I mean, I'm saying all this stuff, but what am I actually doing? If that makes sense. Like, you want all these things. You want the flowers and the candy and the card and the attention, but, like, are you giving your spouse or your boyfriend or whatever you want to call it the same thing? With Valentine's Day, ladies, and I was like that too. Ladies want so much. They want the dates. They want the chocolate, the candy, the champagne, the strawberries, the millions and millions of gifts and stuff like that. The shoes, the bags. But at the same time, what about the guy? He may want the same thing, not like everything, but he may want that same adoration. Is that a word? Adoration, adorance, catering. He may want that same catering and that same love as well given to him on that day, because that's my thing. And it took me a while. I'm like, Valentine's Day is just a joke, because it's like, nothing wrong with you being lovey-dovey. So let me just say that real quick. So don't take this next thing unless I say to heart. This is just me, how I feel and how black my heart is. But my thing is, the issues I've seen with ladies, and I'm just shaking my head, because I'm like, you really expect y'all could be arguing for months and months and months, arguing, yelling, screaming, shouting on February 13th. And then February 14th comes, and magically he has the flowers, the cards, and the candy, everything, and you all lovey-dovey. So you mean to tell me everything that y'all been going through for those 6 months up until that date just went away on one day? But what happens on the 15th of February? You go back to arguing, yelling, and screaming? Or are y'all like, okay? Like, it never really made sense to me. There's 365 days in the year. So one day out of the year, you're telling me everything's fine, from how everything was on the 13th and then how everything will be on the 15th. Like, it shouldn't be a day. It shouldn't be a day made for you to think or feel that he or she cares for you, when they just were yelling and screaming and out in the streets on the 13th, and then they're back at it on the 15th. Like, it shouldn't just be one day. It should. My grandma always used to say, and she still does, every day should be Valentine's Day. Every day should be Christmas. Every day should be your birthday, because you should always be doing these things the rest of the year, not just because, as I say, social media, dictates it. That's just my thing. I just never understood. I never could get behind that, because I'm just like, but is it real? Or are you just doing it because you are expected to do it? If that makes sense. You should want to show your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever love and affection and stuff like that, and cater and, special things, not just because it's a date on a calendar. I just never got that. But like I said, that's just my opinion. Don't take to heart what I'm saying, for those of you who are lovey-dovey and all the other jazz. But just for me, it's just, I never got it. So, and like I said, growing up, I always wanted that big stuff on Valentine's Day, the flowers and the cards and candy and everything. Then after a while, I'm just like, this is just, it doesn't seem genuine, because I feel like it's just because it's the 14th of Valentine's Day. But like, over the rest of the day, like, we still have issues come midnight on Valentine's Day. Like, the issues are still there. They're still there. They're just delayed. So I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. But like I said, don't take what I'm saying to heart. I'm very cynical. I'm very like, yeah. So that goes into the point where I said that I wouldn't mind a companion. Like, I'm one of those who's like, okay, well, if we're talking, we're talking. If we're not, okay. Like, you can't, what is it? You can't force somebody to be with you. And I've tried that growing up. I'm about to be real transparent with y'all, because there's no point of, I don't have no shame. The only person I should be ashamed of is nobody. And I used to be one of those people who would be like, well, if I don't do this and they won't do that, and if I'm not acting this way, I won't get, the love and affection. It was just crazy. I just don't get it. Like, I'm one of those people now who are like, well, if you don't text back, okay, no text back when you can. Like, it took me a very long time to get to the point where being okay with how people are, like, because you can say it to your blue in the face of what you like and what you don't like and what you want, what you don't want. And if they don't change, then it's not that they don't care. It's just that's just how they are. Like, you can't change people. You really can't. Even though ladies think they can, men think they can, parents think they can, you can't change anybody. I mean, nobody changes. They just get better at hiding who they truly are. You know what I'm saying? So you can't really change anybody. It took me some time to really think, like, yeah, you really can't force somebody to be with you if they don't want to be with you, because it shouldn't be work for somebody to be with you. They should want to be with you. They should, be happy to hear from you. It shouldn't have to be, pulling teeth to get a text, And that's the thing. Everybody wants to do things over text. And I used to be big on that too. Like, even now, I still kind of hate talking on the phone. I was like, what's the point? I already know what you look like and sound like. But if it's like an emergency, sure. And now I'm like, well, communicating always gets lost in the sauce during text messages, because everything through a text message looks the same. Like, there's no like explanation points, there's no voices getting high or low, there's no like differentiating in the voice. Everything in text message is the same. So you can talk about like the worst thing. You can write it out without periods or commas, exclamation points, and it still reads the same. But if you're like wanting to communicate and wanting to fix the issue, then you pick up the phone or you do FaceTime. And that's what I've been trying to do a little bit more often now, doing not so much FaceTimes, but phone calls and voice notes, because the person, whomever you're talking to, can really hear how you really sound. It's not just looking like whatever, because it's showing, the importance of the subject matter, if that makes sense. And that's just something I've at now. So it's funny, people who used to know me before would be like, oh, you've changed, you're being different, you're acting weird, bougie, or stuck up. I'm like, no, it's just you finally get to a point, male or female, gets to a point where you're just not going to just settle for what is. It's like, not like you're like demanding the world, but like there's things that should happen and there's things that shouldn't happen. So if you're just simply asking for communication, or you're just simply just asking for, that compassion from somebody who says they want to be with you, then you should get it. It shouldn't be hard. Like, it shouldn't be like a relationship is work as is. There shouldn't be, so much more work, because it's not worth it. It's like I said, you're not married. You're not together for 10 years. If you're just dating for like 6 months and there's just issues behind issues behind issues, and it's like, is it really worth your time? Right? It's really worth your time to deal and sit with somebody who seems to not either A, want to change, right? Or B, seems to not see the point in changing, if that makes sense. Like, I never like to use the word that they don't care, because people do care. But again, you don't know their journey that got them to this point and why they are the way they are. It takes time to know somebody, like really know somebody. They always say it takes 5 years to know somebody. I feel like it takes a lifetime to know somebody. You can be with somebody for like, 6 months, and you feel like you've known them for your whole life, versus being with somebody who you've been with for 25 years and you wake up and you're just like, I don't even know you anymore. So it really depends on, like the person, situation, and the time, and what you'll handle, what you'll deal with, and what you'll say, I'm not dealing with this, or what you'll settle for. And that's a key word, settling. A lot of us just settle, whether it's in work, whether it's in our careers, whether it's relationships, whether it's whatever we're doing. Sometimes we just settle because it's comfortable, right? We all would rather want to be comfortable than uncomfortable, or, stepping out of the comfort zone. Because if we feel like, if we're just, okay, we're here, we're settling, we're doing this is better than looking and searching and trying and working. So I feel like a lot of us need to not settle so much, but more so look at it from um different lens. Like, this is not your life, if that makes sense. This is just what is now, and there's something, sounds bad when you say something better on the other side, but there's always more to what is, if that makes sense. Like, male, female, whatever, in your heart of hearts, if you're happy, right? If this is what you want, if it's worth it, we all know. We just choose to ignore it because, we don't want to have to do the searching and starting over again, if that makes sense, right? So, at least for me, I've learned to be like, well, like I said, you can't force somebody to be with you, or better yet, you can't force somebody to talk to you, meaning like texting or calling or, interacting with you. If they want to, reach out to you, then they reach out to you. If they don't, they don't. After a while, I'm like, you know what? What's the point of me like with whomever, coworkers, bosses, friends, clients, whatever. It's just like my number hasn't changed since I was 13. My number's always been the same. And I've lived in the same area since forever. So it's like, if you want to reach out to me, you can. Like, it shouldn't be this difficult to get you to want to talk to me. Because if you want to talk to me, you can. Because I'm one of those people who are like, I'll talk to anybody, will vibe with anybody. But it's like, it has to be met halfway, if that makes sense. It can't just be, you know, one sided. Because after a while, it gets tiring. It's like you're doing all the work. And for what? If the same results are still there, that makes sense. So I don't know, with relationships, like I said, I'm just here to talk about all relationships. Like, granted, yes, the more, in a way, important relationships are your core relationships, family members, friends, spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends. But at the same time, if you aren't okay with or happy with you, like you yourself, then you really can't, it sounds like cliche, but you really can't give, um, like, not your all, but you can't really give to another person if you're not whole with yourself, if that makes sense. Because, like I said, it does take a piece of you to give yourself to somebody. And if you're not whole, then that piece you're giving sounds so cliche, forgive me, but that piece you're giving is all bruised and battered and chipped up because you're just giving them, like you're just giving it to them. You're not really fully, completely giving yourself to somebody because you're not complete yourself. That makes sense. I don't know, but I feel like I feel like I know what I'm trying to say, but it's not coming out correctly. So it sounds so cliche, and I hate being cliche. But yeah, I mean, that was just my little 3 cents on relationships. And I'm sure I'll bring up this topic again. It came to me the other day. Like I said, I was wrestling with talking about Bible study and being closer to God, relationships, and just some things that I've looked over in my life and some things I've looked over in the past, at least even past year. Some things I'm noticing that I've changed on. Something I've noticed that I've tolerated, not tolerated, and even now, even during this time of being in the pandemic and COVID, I've seen myself grow when it comes to like, oh, well, this is not fun. I'm not dealing with this. So I just exit the relationship or exit the situation versus just being like, well, I'll wait, or maybe they'll change, or maybe they'll do something different. And I mean, I'm just like, huh, was I really like that before? Now I'm just like, okay. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's kind of my mentality. It sounds cynical, but it's more so me just being like, well, my time is valuable, right? My time is precious, as is everybody's, and I'm learning to just be like, I guess go with the flow. That makes sense. So I'm gonna wrap it up because I've been talking for some time, and I think this only, like I said, lasts for 30 minutes, and I don't know how long YouTube lets you record, and I don't want it to cut off on you. But I hope you guys enjoyed my little 2 cents. This is something different. Again, this is not like, I guess, scripted. So I'm gonna like free balling, free spitting. I don't really like to plan what I'm gonna discuss. Even with my music, when I used to do my lives, I used to in the beginning plan, like, have a list of songs I was gonna play. But now I feel like it comes off more organic if you're just like, free balling and doing it like that. And these are just like genuine um, conversations and genuine topics that the youth, I guess, of this day, the young generation, millennials, excuse me, excuse me, are having. So I feel like I wanted to give my little 2 cents in on that. But just a quick wrap up before, or recap, I should say, before this ends. Excuse me. Excuse me. So the podcast air live, as you can see, on Instagram, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Hello, my friends down on YouTube land. Live every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find me on your Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Anchor, YouTube, SoundCloud too, at Lana and Pure. And it's the same photo on my Instagram pages that you'll find my podcast. So everything's the same. So no confusion. And you can find all my previous episodes. And this is actually the first full. I did one episode of the last chapter live, but it didn't really go well because it was just grainy. But this is actually the first full live video of the podcast. And every week, every Sunday will be available to watch and listen to, ASAP. Like I said, I'm still learning the ins and outs of the electronics and the recording and stuff like that. So please bear with me. I'm trying, so just bear with me. And you can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and SoundCloud at Lana and Pure, and then my main page, Lana and Pure's Corner. Sorry, business page, Lana and Pure's Corner. And for the music that I do, the DJing, the music engineering, the artist, entrepreneur stuff, it's under Lana and Pure. And for my old stuff, it's DJ Fire. But you can find everything on all the platforms as well. And yes, stay tuned for my I don't want to call it a mini big project, but it's like a big-ish project coming out soon. Stay tuned for that. I'll probably start promoting that next couple of weeks. So this month, it's already the 10th, which I don't understand what's happening, but it is. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm kind of still on the social media hiatus, so I may not be on as much, but I definitely will be on here live every Sunday at 6 p.m. So you can definitely count on that. Just bear with me with the lives every Friday. I haven't gotten the creative juice back yet. So just bear with me with that. But I hope you guys enjoy my live. I did. It's pretty cool. I like this interaction. Even if, 5 people join, that's 5 more people I had on today than I had yesterday. That's the way to get yourself out there now with being on lockdown essentially and doing everything virtual. Everybody's on the internet, everybody's on social media, so I'm like, let me just try this, see what happens. And again, I'm not doing this. It sounds crazy, but I'm not doing this for likes and retweets and streams. Well, yeah, I am doing for streams, but likes and retweets and, a huge audience. It's just I want to use my little platform of some things that I want to say that's, important to me and that can help, the next person, because I've watched many videos, many podcasts, or even lives, and the topic that they're talking about could be specifically what you needed to hear on that day at that time. And it can change your whole mood, your whole vibe. So that's really what I'm here for. That's my whole, shtick behind Lana and Pure's prayer sessions is to kind of just empower the next person that they meet, empower the next person who watches this. It's no judgment free zone. You can be open, and reflect and regroup and relax. It's all about just relaxing, chilling out, and just channeling your inner self and realizing that you have so much more to offer than what meets the eye. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I need some water before I start coughing again. But yes, I will see you lovely, lovely, beautiful souls next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And always say, do what you did today that you couldn't do yesterday. Okay. But I'm happy you guys tuned in with me. You rocked out with me. I'm going to have fun. It's going to be a good year. I feel it. But yes, see you guys next week and have a blessed, blessed Sunday.